5,000 people apply to medical school, and then we do a whole 1 year together. So we all have this 1 year of doing the same course, and eventually we write the exam. And after first, they take the top 1,000 to go and write another entrance exam, and we go for interviews. We do another exam. Then they select people for medical school. So it's actually tough to get into medical school back home. Now it's changed. Now, once you finish high school, you can just directly go into medical school. But when I was going, it wasn't really like that. So at least you go through it. And then medical school was like 6 years. And I finished medical school in 2015. So after medical school, what did I do? Back home, you have to do internship. So you have to do 3 years of, we call it national service, where you rotate through all the subspecialties for 6 months each. So you do 6 months of surgery, 6 months of internal medicine, and 6 months of pedics, and 6 months of OBGYN. When you're done, then you get a full license to practice independently. So I did all that, and then I started working in the ED. So let me go back a little. So USMLE, in 2014, I came to America to do like a 1-month exchange. And initially I wanted to do pediatric surgery. But when I came to America, I was like, no, I don't think I want to do I don't think I want to do surgery. I'm in a meeting. I don't want to do surgery. So I went back home and I'm like, I don't think US will be for me, because because they told me surgery wasn't an easy thing to do. So I forgot all about USMLE till I got married. So I got married in 2014. If I'm going off, just please bring me back with questions. I got married in 2020, and my husband and I, we decided to come to the States to do like masters. But then I got pregnant with my first. So my husband came and I didn't come. And then when he came, he was like, Esther, I think you can write USMLE and I think you can come. The good thing is around that time, I had changed my mind and I wanted to do internal medicine. I was working in the ED, but I knew I wanted to do internal medicine. So when he told me, I said, okay. So I went to get another visa, and I took a 6-month leave from work. So in November 2020, I took a 6-month leave. So I came here getting to December 2020. No, I took the leave in November 2021 because that's when I had given birth to my first. I left my first child in back home and I came to America. So I came to America, let's say December 2020. That's when I started learning for the USMLE. So I started step 1 in December 2021. Sorry, I'm mixing everything up. 2021 December is when I started learning for the USMLE. So where did I get to? I came to America, left my boy behind, decided to do this. The little secret is that I was pregnant again. And so when I came in, my husband was in school and I decided to do full-time learning. So I did full-time learning for 3 months to write step 1. I'll just go with him to school, study, come back, go back with him, study, come back, sleep. And I was doing that till about February. That's when I was supposed to write my step 1.
Hold on, Esther.
And then
you studied 3 months for step 1?
Yes.
And you said you were pregnant at that moment, right?
Yes.
And you had 1 kid at the moment, or only?
Yes, but I left my kid back home. I came to America and I left my kid back home.
You left your first kid back home, and then you were pregnant and you were in the USA and you were doing some rotation, right?
No, I wasn't doing any rotation. I was just studying.
Okay. Wow.
So I was just studying for step 1. So around February, I had scheduled my exam for February to write the exam. Then I had there are lots of online groups. So I had joined one of the groups and I had someone texted me that he wants me to be like their study mate for step 1. And I said, no problem. When is your exam? And I said, my exam is in February. So I met this girl online and we met. She wanted us to go through one of those MBMEs. I can't remember which ones. So we did it on our own and then we met together to discuss. I joined her and then we're discussing and she makes me feel like the dumbest person on earth. She discourages me and I go into a full-blown panic attack. And I had like 2 weeks to my exam. And I'm like, I'm not ready for this exam. I started freaking out because anyway, my step one was pass or fail, but step one was such a big deal that like if anyone makes you feel like you are not ready for it and you've registered for it, you freak out. So I started freaking out. And I told my husband, I can't write this exam. Then he said, yeah, we can write it, you know. So eventually we decided to push it 2 weeks further. So I ended up writing the step one in March of 2022, in March. So then I decided to, I mean, I was learning so hard. I felt like, what else can I add to it? So I went back to UWorld. I did first aid. I online listening to stuff. My biostats wasn't very strong, so I went to online. What's his name? He's called McNeil. Neil. I don't know if you guys know him. He's on YouTube. He teaches biostats. Very good guy.
Oh, yeah. Randy McNeil.
Randy Neil, very
Yeah.
good guy. So I went back. So I was doing everything to put myself out there for step one. Even when I was going to write step one, I'm like, are you sure you want to write the step one? You know, it's a bit of self-doubt. And when it was like a week to the exam, I started having more discussions with people, and I realized that, oh no, actually your studies were good, because then I had understood a lot of concepts. And mind you, because I had finished school like 6 to 7 years earlier, I had forgotten some of the basics. So it was a bit of a struggle for me. But the good thing is that once I started doing questions with other people, apart from that girl, anyway, I realized that actually you know a lot of things, and I was getting more confident in it. So yes, in March, I went to write step one. At the time I was writing step one, I was 35 weeks pregnant. So
Wow.
when I was going to write the
Okay.
exam, the lady in the exam hall said, I hope you're not going to give birth here. I don't have any people writing USMLE who know any medicine. And I
Wow.
said, oh, no, hopefully we have a few more weeks to it. So I finished writing step one, and then I'm like 36 weeks pregnant. And I had a few weeks to give birth. So my husband said, Esther, don't wait for your results to come. Start learning for step two. I said, no, I can't start learning for step two. I need to see
Wow.
my step one results at least. He's like, no, start learning. So I decided to learn a bit, but I wasn't learning much. I was learning like 1 hour a day for step two. The good news is because I had to practice for a while, step two didn't really come very difficult for me. So from, let's say, I gave birth in April. So from March to April, I didn't really learn. And then I gave birth. And when you give birth, you can't study. I told myself, oh, when I give birth, I'm going to study. So I scheduled my step two for June. Oh, no, for May. Then I realized I could not, because so it was like I had 2 months between. I knew that I could not, because when you have a baby, you don't have time for anything. It was like, just feed the baby, make baby sleep, make sure you get yourself food to eat, sleep as well. So from March to May, no studies for me. And then we went back home. So we went back home in June. So I took my baby home. And at that time, so I had 2 kids with me. And I said, I want to study for step two and write this exam because I want to finish all my steps in the year. And so I scheduled step two for August of the same year. So I took a break from March to, let's say, June. And from June, July, August, I told myself that I'll use the 3 months to study for step two. But in between, I needed to write OET. So I started learning for step two. The good news is that back home, when you give birth, they give you 3 months off. So I had like 3 months of being in the house, taking care of 2 kids, but still trying to study.
Okay.
So the challenge for me for step two was that both kids were there, and I had my husband, and both my parents were sick, so they were staying with me. So I had a lot of things going on. But because I wanted to make it work, I would do all my things and finish by 6 p.m., quickly go and sleep, wake up at midnight and study till 6 a.m.
Wow.
before everyone wakes up. Yes. So I did it every single day. Do everything, make sure I sort everyone out, cook, clean, do all this stuff. And I had help. I mean, my mom was there. She wasn't very well, but she was still there to help me with it. When it was 6, if the children are not sleeping, I'll leave everyone, go and sleep. And then 6 at 12 midnight, wake up, study for 6 hours, sleep. So, I mean, eventually I took a break from it, went to write OET and came back to it. And then I wrote step two. So step one was pass or fail, but step two, I got a 260.
260. Wow, that's a lot in a short
Then
period of time.
Yes, yes. Then I started my journey towards this applications and all that. So
Mhm.
we're doing, the good thing is I have a very supportive husband. So he did all the USMLE applications for me. My ECFMD certificate came and I'm like, I can write step 3. Actually, I can write it by December. And then a friend told me that if you want the programs to see it, you need to write it by December so that by January they can see it before rank order list comes in. And I said, okay, no problem. The challenge with step 3 was that I was working full time.
Wow.
I was still doing all these things I was doing. So it was a big challenge. I struggled a bit, in terms of the time to study. So I was doing the same thing. So I'll do everything by 6 o'clock, sleep, wake up at midnight, study till 6, go to work in the morning, come back, do all the stuff, finish at 6. It was hectic.
Wow.
I used about 6 weeks to study for step 3, 6 weeks.
So hold on. So you've been working in the ED, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How many hours you've been working there?
So the good news is in the ED, we do a shift system. So I was going to work at 8, let's say
Mm-hmm.
7:30. I
Mm-hmm.
was leaving home at 7:30 because the hospital was like 20 minutes drive from my house.
Mm-hmm.
And then get to work at 8, work till 2, and come back home. So maybe by 3, I'm in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Between 3 and 6, I try to sort out the kids
Mm-hmm.
and do all the things I have to do. By 6 o'clock, latest by 7, I'm sleeping. Make sure I get my 5 to 6 hours of sleep. Wake up at midnight. I was breastfeeding. Sometimes I'll be studying with people in America and I will be breastfeeding and baby will be crying. And it was an interesting time.
Mm-hmm.
So about 5 weeks into it, I booked my plane ticket and I came to US to write my step 3. And it wasn't bad. I mean, for step 3, it wasn't bad at all. And I think I got a 248 in step 3.
248, 248, right? Almost 240.
Yes,
Oh, wow.
yes, 248 in step 3. And yeah, I didn't even know about Brookdale. We just selected it because New York programs are IMG friendly. I got
Mhm.
the interview. And during my interview, they were impressed because I took all my steps in a year and I didn't do badly. At least it was above average. And they Fisher heard that I was pregnant when I was writing step 1. It's like, what? You had your belly in step 1. How did you sit down for 7 hours to write an exam when
Yeah,
you had to
that's the
pee every
question.
2 minutes, you know? So
Oh,
he
wow.
made fun of it and yeah.
Uh,
Um, yeah, and eventually I got the offer. Initially I was thinking about the offer, but I mean, I talked to people and they said, no, it's a good offer. I mean, it's Fisher, you get to learn a lot when you're in the program. So
mhm.
that's how come we're here.
Okay, amazing, amazing journey. So I have like a couple of questions.
No problem.
Yeah, so uh, the first question, so I have actually two questions. First question, so before you joined, there was another participant in a group. She said
Okay.
she was pregnant and she was asking advice like how to prepare during pregnancy. And you you're giving us the story, real story.
Yeah.
And so the first question would be this one, and the second question would be so uh if somebody studies like you, like in 3 months and 6 months and like 4 months, that probably cannot complete all of these steps like in a short time period. It means you definitely had some background and you built your knowledge. And so I want to know was the structure of building your knowledge and how you built that. So we can start for the
Okay.
first
So,
question. What are your
okay. The
advice
first,
mhm,
so when you're
advice for
pregnant,
the
you're lazy.
lady? Yes.
Pregnancy makes you lazy. Like you try to be you try not to be lazy, but you just don't have the energy. I believe that what helped me was I was going to the library every day. I wasn't in my comfort zone, right? I and it was in a university, so everyone will be in their class, and I'll be in the library. Obviously, if you're in the library and you've given yourself the chance to study, you will be able to study. I had a study guide when I was doing step 1. I think you can find some online. Just type in step 1 study guide. So it gave you, and I chose the 3 months study guide. It tells you like the thing how to study, like the things to study, like which topics to learn at what time, how many hours of UWorld you have to do, how many hours of maybe if you want to do review the boards, how many hours of first aid you want to do. It gives you all that. It's online. You can get some online. So I use that. And because I was in the library and I had something I was looking on to study, I had the motivation to keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that my friend told me something that God gives special grace to people who like pregnant women and mothers. And I believe it a lot because
Can you say
so
that
I tell
again,
people
Esther?
that there's no excuse you will have to
Yeah.
say, I cannot. If you put your mind to something, there's no excuse you can use unless like you don't really want to do it. If you really want to do it and you put your mind to it, the little things you do, studying, sitting down to say, I'm going to study for 6 hours every day, and this is my plan for today. If you put your mind to it, it's something that can be done. Um, and I feel like once you've gone to medical school, there's nothing you cannot do, right?
Yeah.
Everything like medical school makes us do crazy things because we are always writing exam and like you always have to be on top of your game. You always, even if you don't want to study, because I don't like studying, to be honest with you guys. But yeah, there's nothing you cannot do if you put your mind to it. So yeah, I know pregnancy makes you very lazy and tired all the time. But if you tell yourself that I will do 5 hours every day, that's where it's a good place to start from. If it means taking breaks in between, that's fine. But everyone has their own studying things. Me, I can study for 2 hours at a time, but I need to take a 30 minutes break and still go ahead and do another 2 hours. I can study for 12 hours if I want to, but if I don't take breaks, after a while, nothing goes. So
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to stress myself, I give myself, okay, I'll do 6 hours a day and I'll do it every single day. So 6 hours, I'll take 30 minutes break after every 2 hours, and then I'll still make sure I sit down and do what I'm supposed to do. And once you have something ahead of you, I feel like the whole universe and God and everything else comes in to support you to make your dream a reality. So yes, you can be pregnant and you can be study for USMLE and you can do very well.
Mm-hmm. That sounds amazing. All right.
Yes, the second question.
Mm-hmm.
So for the second question, I believe that I know people. So my medical school, like the two best students in my medical school was very competitive, like I said at the beginning, but the two like best students in my medical school, they took 3 years each to write the USMLE. Very smart
Okay.
guys. Yes.
Oh, wow. And
Very smart. Even one person he's in a match now, like the best student in my class. He's in the process now. He's applying for the match now.
Mhm.
But it took him so many years. And after he did well in the step one. I think step one, he got a 265.
Mhm.
And then he got like a 270 or so in the step two.
Oh,
And I think
wow.
step three, he got like a 260. He's very smart. Anyway, it took him so many years, but I realized that the more you study for USMLE, if you want to write the exam, you don't break for too long because you need your step one to do well in step two. And so step one is you forget some of the things so easily. But I realized that if you are taking them close, people have sort of I don't want to use the word crack the code, but people have been able to do it and more people are doing it. So I think it's made it a bit easier for us to be able to also come together. And I
Mhm.
believe that studying together also helps. Some people are very good with, I want to do this by myself. And some people are very good with sharing the knowledge. And I feel like sometimes the more you share the knowledge, the more it sticks and the more you actually learn from other people. So that's also a good way to study.
Mhm. Okay. And so, uh, so when you get really high score, like 260s, 250s, without having like uh some structure or the way of proper studying, it's impossible. So what kind of study strategies you applied when you were preparing for the steps? And how was your grades in the medical school? So let's get started with medical school and how you prepared for the medical school for the each subject. For example, let's say cardiovascular system. It's your favorite topic. So
Okay.
by the way, guys, Esther, she's a future cardiology and uh interventional cardiologist, right, Esther?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Hopefully that dream doesn't. I don't forget about that dream.
You
Let's
can
see.
get
Let's
it. You
see
can
how
get
it goes. Let's see how residency trains me.
it.
So for medical school, like I said, I believe in studying together. I study well on my own. No two ways about that. But also, I always believe in studying together. Back in medical school, I mean, when I was in, we call it here, they will call it prelim year, like in medical school. But back home, we call it biological science. So we all do like the same things. Like we do sciences, we do chemistry, we do physics. During those times, I was studying by myself, and I'll spend hours and hours in the library, you know. But when I went to medical school, I spent more time in group discussions. We had a very solid group, like a few of my friends were about 8, and we studied together from second year to final year. Every single day we were studying together, discussing things together. And sometimes you sit by yourself, study for 2 hours, and you think that, oh, I know how to manage DKA. Maybe you need to study it 2 more times to be able to grasp the concept. But you meet with people and you're discussing it, and someone tells you, oh, there's a value called 5.3. So that's the potassium value. Oh, 5.3. How do you remember that? Oh, it's so they tell you things and it's like it's in your head, and there's like no way you ever forget. I always tell the story about when I was studying for the USMLE. I got a group of people talking about, in multiple sclerosis, there's something called the Othoff phenomenon.
Yeah.
So someone said, oh, do you know how I remember Othoff's phenomenon? It's like hot, you have something hot in your mouth and you're like, Othoff. So it's associated
Okay.
with heat. And it's
Mm.
something, even if I don't learn multiple sclerosis again, I can never forget.
Mhm.
Othoff's phenomenon means that it gets precipitated when they are in heat.
Mhm.
And, those kind of things are the things that's because medicine is so vast that even if you try to remember everything, there are some things that will always escape you. So learning different people's strategies of learning also helps. And I believe that that's what helped me most of the times. I'll sit down and do my own studies, but I always want to discuss with people. And that's why I join Navina every day. Because you hear how people like learn things, how they understand things, and it even gives you a broader perspective about things. And for me, I feel like that helped me a lot when I was studying for my steps. I always made sure I gave myself 2 hours a day of studying with other people, discussing questions with them, getting to know how they analyze questions. And by the time you are done, if you are meeting with 5 people, you learn 5 different ways of looking at a UWorld question and breaking it down to get what they want from you. Um, my study materials, like I said, for step 1, I was guided. I learned with the study guide. It says today do biochemistry for 2 hours, do first 8 chapters, 1, 2. I went by the book for my step 1. Step 2, I did a system-wide studying, and I did mainly UWorld for step 2, mainly UWorld. Occasionally AMBUS, but it's like 90% of the time I did UWorld questions. And then I would go to YouTube a bit. There's a guy called Divine Interventions. I don't know if you guys know him.
Yeah, everybody knows him. He's famous.
Yeah, Divine. So Divine is also an amazing person. So anytime I got tired, I would just listen to Divine. I pick a few things here and there. Like there's some things I can never forget because of Divine, like Legionella. Like there are some things that he's like, oh, when you meet, and he was always on point. And when I'm going to work or I'm tired and I'm just about to sleep or I'm in the bathroom, I'll just play him and then listen to it. So I just did UWorld, Divine here, and then anytime, maybe a day or two before my exam, I listen to Divine all the time. Like 2 days to exam is Divine because he's giving me questions I'm going to see,
Mhm.
and yeah, so basically that's about it. But I believe that it depends on everyone is different because I know people they don't do well when they feel like other people waste their time. They would rather sit down by themselves and open the book. If you are that kind of person, go with that. But if you think that getting other people's opinion of how they analyze questions will help you, you can dedicate to us. So instead of learning for 6 hours or 10 hours a day, you can decide to learn for maybe 2 hours less and use those 2 hours to just join a study group somewhere. There are so many online.
Mhm.
Join them and listen to how they analyze questions. You'll be surprised that maybe you see a question in a certain light, but they will tell you, no, read the last one first. look at what they are looking for. Go and read the first one. You realize that when you read the last statement and you read the first statement, you probably get a clue to answer this question. And it's all about, of course, it's about studying, but it's also about learning how to solve questions, right? It's not just about studying. You may know all the things in your head, but you get to the exam and you will not do well. But someone may not know a lot of things, but the person will know how to. It's called test taking strategies. There are a few online courses that teaches you how to take tests. I think it's also important to learn how to take tests, and it will be able to help you. But I believe that once you are taking them very close together and not really breaking for a long time, you should be able to build enough foundation to be able to take them. It doesn't mean that everyone should force to finish the steps in a year. If you know yourself and you know that it will take you 2 years to finish and do well, give yourself that 2 years to study and do well. So, yeah.
Okay, sounds amazing. And you said test taking strategy online courses. Do you have those online courses? I mean,
No. So during the times that I was very down, I would go to YouTube and type in something. You get someone there's a lot of information online that I feel like we underutilize. So what's this guy's name? I have two people on Instagram that I follow. I've forgotten their names. One is from India and the other guy is from Pakistan. They have courses. So if I'm not sure, I don't have them in my mind now, but just go to YouTube and type in how to learn test taking strategies. You get a few people coming into, it's not every information that you take, but at least you get an hour of someone teaching you something.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you are bored or when you, instead of maybe doing something, just your free time, you just Google some of these things and you will get so much information online, you will be surprised.
Okay, perfect. And my next question is, so Esther, when you read something, how did you retain all of the information? How did you memorize all of them? So it's like sometimes I remember when I was preparing, I was reading the first date or any book. When I reached the end of the book, I forgot the beginning of the book. So,
I know.
so how you deal
I
with
don't
this?
think, no, I don't think it's unusual. And I feel like that's what makes step one a very scary exam, because you will study for step. I know people who use like 5 years to study for step one. And by the time they were writing, they were still not confident about it because there's so much information. There's so much information. And I believe that sometimes it's not just reading something once that will make you remember. There are some things that we've read, but Fisher comes around, you've read this before. He will ask you the question and you can't even remember what, oh my God, I know this, but I can't even come out. So I believe that that's not something you should beat yourself about it. Like I told you that my favorite thing is what you repeatedly do. As you repeatedly simulate the information. Some people are blessed when they see something for the first time, they're able to. I have a very good short-term memory personally. My short-term memory is very good. So I can be lazy, and before an exam, if I decide to study, like I can literally use like 2 weeks to study for a very big exam. And you'll be surprised because my short-term memory is very good. But maybe give me a month or 2 months later, I would have forgotten all about it.
Okay.
But to keep remembering some things, you need to do it over and over and over so that your brain accumulates and accepts that, oh, this is something that I need to know. And I believe that practice also helps. I know that it's not everyone who gets to practice in their home country before they move, especially when they're writing USMLE. It's so hard to combine working and, trying to do it all. But if you practice something, it sticks better. If you try to teach someone something, it sticks better. So there are ways to try to keep things that you read. If you read 1 + 1 = 2, and you add it to your practice, it makes it stick better. If you're able to explain to those by, so this is how 1 + 1 becomes 2. It makes, as you teach them, it makes you retain it more. So yeah, those are some of the ways I guess you can. But I guess sometimes you just have to study it 10 times and still forget 10 times. And be asked 10 times and still forget 10 times. And maybe some of the things you can't keep in your head. So maybe before exam. So I have some things that I know I can't keep in my head. So what I do is that If I study something for 2 times and I'm still not keeping it, I write it in a book. And the night before my exam or the morning of the exam, I will open the book and I'll go through again. So that will be fresh in my mind for the
Okay.
exam. But yes, that's also another way.
Oh, that's very smart approach. I wrote everything to my this first date, and
Yeah.
eventually it became like a museum. When you open it, there are a lot of information, so it was really hard to go through them. Okay, and so next question. So everybody is here surprised or amazed by the amount of sleep that you were sleeping. And could you please tell us like how many hours you used to sleep, and like was this enough? Did you feel like you were sleepy all the day, or in the first part of the month was it insufficient? And what about later on? So what do you think about the 5 to 6 hours sleep or sleeping overall?
So when you give birth, your life changes. If you haven't given birth, you think you need sleep to survive. I mean, you need sleep to survive, trust me, but you give birth to your first one, your first child, and you realize that you are so sleep deprived that you can do a lot without sleep. But I love sleep. I mean, most days I can't do without 6 to 7 hours of sleep. Most even now I'm sleeping 8 hours because of winter. I'm sleeping so much. But around that time, because I knew I had something ahead of me and I had a lot of help, like I said, my husband is very supportive. My mom wasn't well, but she was around. And so I did 6 hours every day. In the 6 hours, fortunately, I got my whole 6 hours because I would tell them, take care of the kids, make sure they are fine. After in the middle of the night, I can take care of them when I'm studying. But I did 6 hours every I made sure that occasionally I'll do 5 hours and then in the day I'll be a little grumpy. But in the day that I needed to, 6 hours every day, I tried to get it. And I feel like if you sleep well, it helps you study better.
Mm-hmm.
I know that back in school, people were studying, especially when it was getting to exam, they would sleep for 3 hours a night for like a week to be able to write your exam and all that. For me, I don't do well with that. But I need at least my 6 hours. Yeah, people were doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, that once you finish medical school, I feel like there's nothing you can't do because people are able to go days without sleeping. But because USMLE, like, is a journey, it's not a one day thing, it's a
Mm-hmm.
journey. So it's about consistency.
Mm-hmm.
You can decide to sleep 5 hours or maybe 4 hours a day, but you know you cannot continue with that. So if it means taking an extra hour of sleep and sleeping 7 hours a day and making sure that out of the rest of the you are sleep, maybe you want to study for 7 hours a day, you study for 7 hours a day, you sleep for 7 hours a day, that's 14 hours a day. You still have 10 hours a day to do anything you want to do. But all I'm saying that you have to be consistent with those 7 hours of studies if that's what you want. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be consistent with those hours of 7 hours of because there are lots of things that distract us. But if you are doing every day, I'll sleep for 7 hours, every day I'll study for maybe 10 hours. I don't know how many hours people are able to study. And you are consistent with it, that is what is going to get you to achieve that aim. But if today you study for 20 hours and then because of that tomorrow you are sick because you couldn't sleep well, then you can't really achieve it. But you have to be consistent. So if it's like 10 hours a day every day and that's what you want to do, add work to it, add sleep to it, add everything to it. I have to make sure I do my 7 hours. So what I tell people is that what for me is realistic is 6 hours a day of studying. Even if you are working, if you are writing USMLE, make sure no day goes by without you studying for 6 hours. It doesn't matter if it's the holidays, make sure you're studying for your 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to write the steps in 6 months or 3 months, you cannot do without learning for less than 6 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's something you can do, you make sure that every day, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. It doesn't, if I waste the time watching movies, then I have to make sure that I lose sleep to study because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to lose sleep, then I'm not going to watch movies. I'm going to use that time to study. So consistency, I feel like, is the key. If you study for 1 week and you're so serious and the next week you don't study, by the time you come back again, you've forgotten all the things you've learned.
Mm-hmm. I see. Got it. Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much for so much valuable information. So let's do question answer with the team if they have any, the participants. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, hello, Esther. My name is Deria, and nice to greet you. And I have some questions because your occasion is so inspiring for me because I'm being a woman. I know how it's difficult to prepare for the steps and maintain with your family. And I have set up the goal to pass the USMLE, and we're planning to have a kid. I'm going to become pregnant, and approximately at 30 weeks of my pregnancy, I'm gonna pass my USMLE first step. And thank you so much for such inspiring words. And your example is very was important for me. And I have some question. When you pass this exam, yes, the day of the exam, it's sitting 8 hours. How it was for you personally? 8 hours, it is not so easy to sit, especially being pregnant.
Yes. So I have a very, what's the word I should use? It depends on you. Before I took the exam, someone told me to prep myself. So I took standardized tests and I will give myself 2 hours. So every time, so all my steps, my first 3 hours, I don't take breaks. So I do 3 blocks, then I take my first break. My first break is long, 30 minutes, because I'm tired from all that. Then I come and do 2 blocks, which is like 5 blocks. Then I take a 10 minutes break. So it all depends on you and how long you can sit. If you are peeing every hour, obviously you have to get up every hour after every block. But usually in the morning, I feel like I have so much because I'm a morning person. I'm the morning person, so I wake up early and do all my stuff. So I feel like in the morning, I have so much energy that I'm able to sit for 3 hours, do my first 3 blocks, and then I'll take a long break, 30 minutes, go and rest, drink water, walk around a bit. Then I go in for another 2 hours. Then I take shorter breaks, maybe 5 minutes break after. Then every hour, because getting to the end, after I think my step 2, I struggled a lot because I couldn't sleep the night before my step 2. Both children, I was alone. My parents weren't around, and my husband had traveled. He came on the morning of the exam, and both children decided not to sleep that night. So I didn't sleep. So after my first 3 hours, I had a terrible headache, and it was crazy. It was crazy. But I know that you can be able to do it. What you do is you pace yourself. So as you are sitting for so long to prepare for the exam, your body gets used to, oh, I can sit for 2 hours actually before peeing or before going to the washroom. So you sit down for 2 hours and make sure that maybe 2 weeks to time, every day you pace yourself for 7 hours. Like I said, because you know the exam is 7 hours, pace yourself in the 7 hours of the exam plus my 1 hour break, which is 8 hours. How will I be able to sit? And once you teach your body how to do it, by that day, you should be able to it doesn't matter if you want to take your break every 1 hour or every 2 hours. Your body is so used to sitting for so long and doing questions for so long that it comes naturally to you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
But
And
yeah, you're able to do it. Like, you'll be fine. Okay. I'm happy that you are motivated. You do very well.
Yeah, I have realized that I can't do this. No excuse really. And the
No
second
excuse.
question, the second step you have passed after the baby delivery, yes, and you have the breastfeeding, and I think it's also you have faced the many challenges during this period also.
Yes, it's not easy to do, but if you have people who are helpful and supportive, I believe that you'll be able to. Because the truth is that after you give birth, your first maybe 2 months, you are not yourself because babies usually don't sleep in the first 2 months. They wake up like every hour. They want to eat and they want to do all that. So your first 2 months, you are not yourself at all. But after they are 2 months and going, they're able to sleep maybe for 3 or 4 hours at a go. And during those times, instead of sleeping, unfortunately, you have to be studying. And it's I believe that it sounds very hard, but when you are there, you have a special ability from God to be able to do it. I believe in God, so I'm sorry that I'm saying God so many times, but yeah, you have a special ability from God to do it. You'll be surprised how he gives especially mothers special grace when it comes to doing things. That's how come like our mothers are like super women. He gives you special grace. That's why the men don't have any excuse if they can't study for the exam.
Yeah, Esther, thank you so much. I'm so
You're
appreciate
welcome. You're
for
welcome.
your answer. Thank you.
Okay. Next question. How did you overcome burnouts, if you ever had one?
Okay. Yes. So it's real burnout, especially I don't know where you guys are in your journeys, but especially for step one. Step one for me is so intense. Like thinking about how I studied for step one still gives me chills. Yes. So before initially I didn't know that like I could be burnt out, but I learned it along the way that it was really hard. So for me, I made sure Sundays were my notebook days. So every Sunday, notebook. I was in America when I was studying for step one, and because my husband was in school, most of the times we're away in school studying. But Sundays we'll spend the time maybe cooking, or maybe sleeping, or maybe talking to family back home. So Sundays I pick my phone and call my. Then I was calling my mom and my child, talk to them. No book for me, nothing. But Mondays serious work starts. And just taking that one day off break really helped me. There were some days that maybe Friday, I feel so lazy and I don't want to do anything. And my husband is pushing me, Esther, don't you want to learn? And I'm like, today is not the day. You know yourself. And so if you are getting to that point that you feel like, no, even if I spend 3 hours, I will not learn anything. I believe that you shouldn't waste that time. You know what makes you relax. Take that. If it means spending time with family, it means as boys, maybe playing video games. If it means going out there to take some coffee or something, take that break, because you know yourself so much that some people can stay behind books for 10 hours and not learn one thing. But if you know yourself and you know that, oh, I get tired after studying for 2 hours and I need maybe 1 hour break before I get myself, please take your break. It doesn't mean that all of us can study for 12 hours a day. Some people are able to. But if you know you can't, don't waste that time, because you'll be surprised that taking one day of not studying at all, by the time Monday comes, your mind is free enough to take in more information. But if you are doing it every day for 3 months, you will get tired. And if you are tired, take the break. I don't believe that you should take too many days off as your break. But if it's one day in a week, it's good enough. You'll be able to get your rest and then go back to work. So that's how I was dealing with it. I wasn't studying on Sundays. I was just taking that break on Sundays. And some Fridays, if I'm feeling too lazy, I'll just sleep. I don't watch a lot of movies, but then I used to watch a lot of Netflix during like Friday evening, I've studied for 7 hours and I know I have to do maybe 2 more hours before. And I'm like, oh, I can't do these 2 hours. I'll go and watch a Netflix movie and sleep and wake up the next day and go back to study. So yes, it's something that you have to do. It's very important so that you don't get too tired.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Esther, you said you have very good short memory. So you remember very well the surgery team, right? That was pushing back.
Oh, yes, I do. So my short-term memory is like amazing. It's not always good, but it's amazing. You have no idea. Like I'll see something today. I remember my medical school interview. So I mean, back because of all the things we go through, just before my interview, we wrote an exam. And then in my interview, they asked me about it, and I told them the answer, and they're like, "How did you know that?" And I'm like, It was in the they gave us the exam the day before. Oh, it was in the exam that it's like, oh my God, you are so smart. And I said, no, I'm not that smart. It's my short-term memory. It's very good. I remember things. Maybe for the first week I see things, I will always remember, but afterwards I have to read again to remember. But yeah, that's it. But I remember surgery. I remember them very well.
Okay.
And they remember me too.
Okay. All right. Got it. Yeah. Thank you very much, Esther. We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Appreciate much.
Thank you, Stu. Thank you
So
guys for listening to my talks. I like talking. Thank you guys.
yeah,
And I'm always available if you have any questions. You can tell us by you. Let me know.
yeah, you listen, guys. So you heard it, guys. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I will ask Esther, and if we need, we can make another meeting, right, Esther? If needed.
Yeah, just let me know ahead of time. That's fine.
Sure.
Now I'm becoming lazy. Winter is making me very slow, so just let me know ahead of time. We can make it happen.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Esther.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Take care and all the best to everyone.
All the best.